That is classified as a non-physical reality. What happens is that slit opens up more and more and more. So you see more and more of that reality, and we assume that we see different realities. They're not very different realities, but rather a very extended, broad view of one very large reality.
Can we speed that up by doing it?
Yeah. Well, you use techniques which push the nervous system a lot faster. Those techniques are available.
Shortly after making that claim, he was gone. In 1979, Itzhak Bentov was on his way to Japan to meet with leading scientists and share that he had cracked the code of reality. But his first flight from Chicago to Los Angeles never made it. The plane crashed. Strange. The man who had spent years mapping the hidden architecture of consciousness died on his way to reveal it. Later, parts of his work surfaced in CIA files, quietly folded into their own projects. Modern physics now flirts with this idea through quantum field theory. But Bentov wasn't a physicist chasing equations. He was describing the cosmos like a giant interconnected hologram, where every fragment contains the whole picture. Think about that for a second. If your mind is tuning into a universal signal, then death might not be the end. It could be just changing the channel.
The soul is the repository of information that we gather during a lifetime. Well, I'll tell you, maybe we should draw another diagram. Physical bodies are here, another physical body, and this is Joe, and this is Jim, and this is Sarah, etc. Now, clearly, this is the physical level, yeah? Now, on this physical level, we're all separate. You sit there, and I sit here, and we're all separate. Now, let's draw another level. This level is slightly higher, and let's call this the level of the soul, yeah? Well, there will be some mingling here. Let's draw this person as extending to practically infinity this way. Now look what happens. At the physical level, we're separate, and there's this much distance between us. Let's say that on the soul level, this person extends this much, and the other person gets slightly mixed in with him. That is, the souls are, in a way, in touch with each other. Okay, they overlap, these two lines. Now let's go now to a higher level, and let's call this, say, the level of the higher self, which is kind of a boss of that soul. There, what we find is that this fellow's higher self extends this much, and the other fellow's extends this much. There is more overlap between them. Right. On the very highest level, which is the high spiritual level, we are basically overlapping completely. Everybody is overlapping everybody else. In other words, everything and everyone is everywhere. In other words, we've become omnipresent. This is a state of highly spiritual perfected beings, or gods you may call them. Okay?
Okay, and so that we exist on all of those simultaneously.
On all of those simultaneously,
so then,
but we're not aware of that.
In your view, then, when we see each other as separate entities, that's only seen on one plane of reality.
Correct.
And that was just his starting point, because Bentov didn't stop at the mind. He mapped out how your heart and brain physically interact with the cosmos. The results were shocking, and the evidence measurable. But that's where his story takes an even stranger turn.
Well, let's take a simple example. The family sitting at dinner table, and say there's a kid, maybe 15 years old, 16 years old, and he looks up and suddenly he says to his mother, "Hey, Ma, look at there's our dead grandmother is standing in the corner." Mother looks around and says, "No." Then psychiatrist says, "Oh, young fella, you're in troubles," and then he writes out a little prescription for a little thorazine or electroshock or whatever, and pretty soon, in a matter of 2 weeks, kid is back in shape, very normal.
No longer sees anything.
No longer sees anything.
Yeah.
So the process has been reversed. This is called a psychotic episode or acute schizophrenic break or whatever it is.
And what you would say is that there's a good chance that that kid is seeing.
Very
The
good chance
diagram.
that the kid has a spontaneous opening of his senses. That is classified as a non-physical reality. The nervous system is that thing that gives us the picture of our realities. That is, our realities, that reality which you see all around you, the flowers and the chairs and the microphones and the teacup, is given to us by our senses.
Yeah.
We don't see light which is beyond UV and beyond infrared. We hear only a limited scale of vibrations, like, for instance, we hear anywhere from 52 to 20,000 maximum. In other words, all our senses are limited. So what happens is that slit opens up more and more and more. So you see more and more of that reality, and we assume that we see different realities. They're not very different realities, but rather a very extended, broad view of one very large reality.
Through years of experiments and self-observation, he discovered that the heartbeat sends a rhythmic wave up the spine into the brain. This microscopic mechanical motion, measured in fractions of a millimeter, generates oscillations that synchronize with the body's electromagnetic field. Here's the twist.